Hi, I'm Marty Friedman. I'm really happy to be here doing this Hot Licks video for you. And today one thing that we're going to really concentrate on is trying to be different as a guitarist. You really want to make yourself sound different. So I'm not just going to show you a bunch of solos and have you learn them and call it a day. I'm going to try to make you think a lot more, and I'm going to try to give you a lot of variations, and I'm going to show you how to figure out variations of your own. And I think that's the most important thing to do. So when you learn something, I think it's very important that you can think of 10 other ways to play it without just copying everything that you learn all the time. I think that's very important. So that's something I'm going to concentrate. Okay, I'm going to break this lesson up into 3 segments. The first segment, I'm going to give you some food for thought, where I'm going to give you like a whole bunch of unusual patterns to practice and a different way to get your mind geared for playing things that repeat. I'm going to show you some unusual patterns. And in the next section, I'm going to show you some exotic scales. Mainly, I'm going to focus on the Japanese sounding scale, which is quite different, and it can lend to some really pretty melodic playing. And in the last section, I'm going to talk about theory. I'm going to talk about constructing a solo nicely and playing, you know, really thinking out every single note you play and following progressions and really making every note count instead of just playing the same old thing over a progression which has chord changes in it. Okay? So let's start by getting in tune, and I'll give you an A to tune to. All right? If you're in tune, let's get started. The first thing I want to do is start talking about odd times. Odd times as in repeating patterns. Like most patterns that guitarists learn are usually numbers of 3 and 4, like triplets or quadruplets. And I'm going to start dealing with the number 5 quite a bit in this lesson. I want you to start thinking in numbers other than 3 and 4, because everybody plays 3 and 4 all the time. So let's think of the number 5, and let's take a basic scale that most everybody knows, a pentatonic scale. It looks like this. Okay, now we're going to take that scale and play it 5 notes down at a time, like so. Okay, and we're going to play it going backwards 5 notes at a time, and quickly it will sound like this. Okay, that's what it looks like going quickly. And slowly, if you break it down, it looks like this. That's how the thing looks played slowly. And if you notice, it's just the same pattern going in that scale, 5 notes at a time, 5 notes here, 5 notes here, and so on. Now you can go back up the same scale using 5s, but using a different pattern, like this. Okay, that's also 5s, and slowly it's a different pattern, and it looks like this. That's the pattern that I just used playing that thing fast. Now what you can do is put these both together and look something like this. Okay, now that's just an exercise, but you can use that, and you can use that kind of thinking to play in improvising solos, and it's really nice to do repeating patterns that have odd numbers in it. So let's take this 5 pattern and make another odd number out of it, like 11. That means we're going to have to play 5 notes and then add 6 to it. So let's also make another variation at the same time. Let's make the 5-note pattern have a note higher than what we were using in the scale already. Now let's use A instead of G as the top note and use this as the 5 pattern. Okay, so let's add 6 notes to it, and let's use these as the 6 notes. You can have a repeating pattern like this. Okay, here's another 5 pattern that you can play quite fast, and it has an interesting picking and hammering on thing going on. It looks like this. Okay, this is something I use quite a bit when playing fast, and you can get it really fast if you want. You get it much faster than that. Or slower, it sounds nice as well. So what it looks like is this. Slowly, that's the 5 right there. You pick the very first note, but every other time you don't pick the first note. You slide back to it like this. Let me go over that part right again, because it's important that you catch this about it. Slide back and then hammer on without picking right there. So you pick it, you hammer on and pull off, and then slide back and hammer on again. Now I'd like to do something else, and it's a way of picking an arpeggio. It looks like this. In the key of G, it would be here. Okay, that's quickly. It's a very basic 6-note arpeggio. And what we're going to do is play it slowly like this, and watch the picking, because picking is very important on this. You note there's 2 downstrokes and then a hammer-on, and then an upstroke, downstroke, pull off. That's the pattern. Okay, that's G minor. Now let's add a variation to it, which hopefully by now you're already thinking of trying to do. And let's do a variation of putting a basic pattern into that like this. Okay, let's add that to the arpeggio. But before we add that, let me show you exactly how to pick this. 2 downstrokes and an upstroke and a pull-off should do it for you. Okay, so let's put these 2 things together so we have a longer arpeggio pattern. That's what we're going to want, and together quickly it'll sound like this. This obviously you can move around anywhere you want. Okay, so that's what those 2 sound like together quickly. Now, what I'd like to do is change it to major. That's very easy. All you do is you take the minor third, which in this case is B flat, move it to B natural, and do everything else the same, and you have G major. So what you have is this now. Okay, let's do some more variations on that. Okay, let's add the 7th of this and add it into the pattern here. So the 7th of G major is a F note. So where's an F note? There's the F note. Now let's find a way to add this into our arpeggio pattern that we have. Let's go like this. So far we have this. Let's add the 7th note and add an extra couple other notes that are in the arpeggio like this. So we are going to add 3 more notes to this pattern, and the new note is the 7th. So together we have this. Quickly it sounds like this. Okay? So what you can do is you can add these things on forever. I'll give you one more example, and then the rest I'll let you take it from there and hopefully come up with lots of different variations for yourself. Okay, why don't we make a variation by getting rid of a note as well and adding other notes. So let's get rid of one of the notes and add a whole bunch of others. It looks like this. And let's get rid of this note right there and just end here and go back up like this. So we're going to go like this slowly. Okay, all these notes, if you go by name, you have notes that are in a G7 arpeggio, except for the highest note, which is E, which is the 6th note in a G scale. So if you look at all the notes here, you have G, B, D, F right there, G again, B again, and this extra note, which is the 6th, which is E right there. All right? So together, our pattern, which is much longer now and has been revised many times, looks like this. Okay, so that's what you can do, and you can make variations forever, and that's the way you want to start thinking. Variations, change that. Once you learn it this way, the way I just showed it to you, I want you to change that and come up with 3 or 4 other ways to do something similar. Okay, now let's make another variation on a picking pattern that I showed you before, and let's move it up into the key of C minor like this. I did a very basic picking pattern, but it's very important, especially when you're talking about playing quickly, is this pattern here with the 2 downstrokes and an upstroke. It looks like this. I did it before.